Howdy folks, monthly update for June. As we sit here in the start of July, we are already 1 week into the July test. It's been a pretty good time to be a rugby fan with so much kind of test rugby on. We're going to look at a new jersey which has just recently been sent to me. Some stats and thanks from the month of June, plus the injury list for the July tests, which is getting pretty lengthy at this point. There's been a few guys called up, a few guys cleared. And then some Rugby World Cup qualifiers, which are kind of flying under the radar a wee bit with all the attention being on the kind of Tier 1 games for July. But yeah, we'll go through these things, and you guys, as always, feel free to let me know your thoughts on any and everything else rugby. The jersey was sent to me by Luke. I've just opened it yesterday as it arrived. It is a Manu Samoa jersey, as you can see. And the reason Luke sent me this jersey was to kind of have a look at this brand. I don't actually know the correct pronunciation of this brand. Is it Castore? Is it Castor? I initially assumed it was like an Italian brand based on the name, but I believe it is a UK brand. And the reason these guys are curious is because a few years ago, these weren't even a year ago, I don't think these guys were really present in the rugby union market, not as far as I am aware. But they certainly seem to be making a push at the moment. Manu Samoa is on this brand. Saracens are on this brand. I think Harlequins are moving to this brand, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, they seem to be making a push into rugby. It's the brand that I know nothing about. It's usually, Adidas, which is how we say that brand in New Zealand. Canterbury, Macron. Like, these guys are kind of the well-established players in the market. Nike seems to kind of moved out of union by this point for the most part. But yeah, these guys. So I don't know. We'll do some kind of review comparison, like how do these jerseys feel and look, and like size-wise compared to some of the other more established rugby brands at some point. So thanks to Luke, we can get that underway. I know Luke bought this from Level Rugby, and Level Rugby is a pretty cool store. I've recently become an affiliate of Level Rugby, so if you guys want to get any gear from Level Rugby, link down in the description. What can I say about Level Rugby? They've got a huge selection. They're based in the UK, but their shipping speed is always really lightning quick, which is good. The only thing I don't like about them is they don't tend to combine shipping. Last time I checked, like if you order 3 things, they're going to charge you for the shipping on each one rather than chucking it in one box. But yeah, as I said, I've bought loads of stuff from them in the past because, yeah, they got a huge selection, decent prices, and the shipping is really quick. I think, were they the store that I first discovered? Like when I bought a Blues jersey, long before I had this channel, I bought a Blues jersey from overseas because it was cheaper to buy it from the UK and get it shipped to New Zealand than it was to buy it locally, which just seems bonkers, but sometimes that is the case. So yeah, Level Rugby down in the description. Cheers to Luke for this jersey. I'll get cracking on some kind of jersey comparison. I think that could be kind of interesting. What else? Stats and thanks. I mean, obviously July is the big focus, but June was pretty busy. We had Super Rugby final, URC final, Premiership final, so it's kind of all go in terms of the business end of the rugby club season, and then ramping up into the internationals. All the squad namings, all that kind of stuff's really popular, so I like it as well. It's a good time to be a rugby fan. Geography-wise, it was South Africa number 1 in June, followed by New Zealand, UK, Australia, and Ireland. That's your top 5. And then just outside the top 5, USA, Fiji, and Canada. So, yeah, good to have you guys all along. Always less than 50% of people are subscribed, so if you want to do me a favor, it's kind of the only time of the month that I do the old YouTube spiel of, hey, please subscribe to the channel. That helps out, and like the videos, and comment, and all that kind of jazz, and just watch. You guys know I appreciate you guys all being here, so if you can do me those favors, certainly means a lot. Also, special thanks to the patrons. If you want to support this channel, Patreon's the place to be. There's a bunch of extra videos on there. There's Super Brew kind of chats about like the picks that went right and wrong for each week, and kind of who's doing well and who's struggling amongst all the little Patreon community, and talk about, like, what did we talk about last month? Like Ian Foster getting COVID, and did a little bit of a match report from the Black Ferns game against Canada over here in the women's game that I attended, and the Super Rugby final. I did a little bit of a wee vlog there, that kind of stuff. So if you want the extra videos, you just want to support the channel, Patreon down in the description as well. Special thanks to Michael Daly, Jack McHugh, and John King. You guys are also pretty awesome with your support, but all these Patreon people, if you want to join their list, all literally keeping the channel afloat, because yeah, YouTube can be a bit of a fickle beast, but Patreon is thankfully a bit more consistent. So cheers to all you folks. Now, the injury update. Goodness gracious me, it's getting pretty long, isn't it? The concussion list is by far the longest. Like, of any one injury type, concussion is keeping more people out than any other, which, as there's a helicopter about to fly over my house, you could say is a good sign that they're getting the concussion stuff right and that these guys aren't going to be playing and it's been identified. Or you could say that still more needs to be done. I know Lockman's concussion protocol thing was stuffed up pretty badly during the game the other day. That helicopter is really flying quite low, isn't it? But yeah, who's out with concussion? Sam Whitelock's going to miss the next game for the All Blacks. Tom Curry's going to miss the rest of the tour for England. Of Australia, Tom France is also going back to Wales. So those guys are all out. Lockman and Heffernan, I believe, are not available in the immediate games as well for Ireland. So as I said, the concussion list is pretty long. Elsewhere, you've got Quade Cooper's out with a calf injury. He's not going to play against England at all this series. Tom Banks, likewise, long-term injury with his arm. James Hume for Ireland with his groin. Then the Pumas, Kubeli and Sanchez both got leg injuries, so they're going to miss their games. So, yeah, the injury list after only 1 week of games is pretty horrendous. Plus, Tupavai's got COVID in the New Zealand camp, so he's going to have to isolate. And Johnny May's recovery from COVID, as he, I think, had it pretty much on arrival in Australia, is taking longer than expected. So he's likewise not going to be available. Some of the guys called up. Tuipulotu has been called into the All Blacks camp as they struggle with locking depth. He's been off in Japan, so straight back into the All Blacks camp for him. Miotti and Ezkura called into the Pumas camp. McCloskey's been called up into the Irish camp. The list goes on, but yeah, some big call-ups because the injury list, like I mentioned, are pretty troubling. Some of the guys who I think have been cleared, Finlay Beelum and Mac Hansen, they've recovered from COVID to be in consideration for the next game against the All Blacks. Peter Steph Dutoy, if you've seen the Springboks squad, goodness gracious, they made a lot of changes. He's back fit, so he's been named. Sexton has apparently passed his most recent concussion test, so could be available for selection, whether or not they select them or not. And then the ABs have got a few guys like Will Jordan and Goodhue and Havili and whatnot who should be finished their COVID isolation period. Whether or not they are considered is also one that kind of remains to be seen, because I guess the recovery time kind of varies from person to person, but apparently there's no pressure on these guys. In terms of sightings, Darcy Swain's been banned. I think it was initially 6 weeks, brought down to 2 for his headbutt of Johnny Hill. So he's going to miss the rest of the games against England. Johnny Hill, interestingly, was not cited for the scuffle that kind of kicked things off. So Aussie fans will be kind of feeling a bit burned about that one. And then Scotty Barrett was cleared, or not cited, for his kind of shoulder into Peter O'Mahony, which is interesting because I just watched Whistle Watch with Nigel Owens, and he's like, I would have given a red card for that. So, hey, rugby, inconsistent sometimes interpretations. That's the kind of name of the game, isn't it? So, yeah, there's a bunch of guys in and out from all the different teams. Let me know if there's any more, because it's certainly not an exhaustive list. Those are just the ones that I kind of came across in the last day or so that I could remember. But yeah, ultimately, we've got a bunch more rugby on this weekend, which is happy days. Now, apart from the main July test, I call them the main ones, there's a bunch of Rugby World Cup qualifying games going on as well. In the pool to kind of get the last African spot, you've got Namibia taking on Zimbabwe, and then Kenya taking on Algeria in the semi-finals of the, what is it called, the African Nations Cup? Or is that the football? Either way, one of these four teams is going to make the World Cup, so we'll kind of have to watch that with interest to see how it goes. Traditionally, it's been Namibia, but I don't believe they've kind of been at the same level, or at least above the other teams like we've previously seen. I haven't been following it that much, but I'm keen to see how they go. You've got Korea taking on Hong Kong, South Korea obviously, taking on Hong Kong for that kind of Asian qualifying spot, but the winner of that game still has to take on Tonga. So that's going to be a tough ask for whoever wins this game, but if you win it, at least you get to go into the final repechage to kind of stay alive, even if you lose to Tonga, but that'll be an interesting one. I think Hong Kong is usually the favourite for that one. And then lastly, you've got the USA taking on Chile for the last Americas spot, Americas 2. So that's a 2-match series between those two sides. That one's going to be fascinating because Chile really seem to be a team on the up, whereas the USA have been a little bit inconsistent. But they did get a win over the French Barbarians the other day, which was kind of encouraging for their prep. Whoever loses that one is also not out. they will also go into the final repechage, I believe. So, yeah, it's all on. Rugby World Cup's only next year, folks. For you guys in the States who want to watch the USA and Chile game and all the other July games, Flow Rugby, remember, affiliate of the channel too. I've seen a fair few people sign up to Flow Sports, Flow Rugby recently. They've had all the games live and on demand. So, happy times for rugby viewing worldwide. But there you go, folks. New rugby jersey, thanks to Luke. Again, thanks to the patrons for supporting the channel, to you guys for your liking and viewing and commenting and all that jazz. You guys let me know your thoughts. Any other injury updates? Who do you think is going to be sorely missed? How do you think World Rugby's going with the concussion protocols? And who do you back to qualify for the World Cup of those teams that I've just mentioned? Take care, guys. Enjoy July. It's going to be pretty busy, but also pretty fun. And yes, I'll talk to you guys again soon. See you later.